All right. Hey, from military veteran, 10K a day coach, ranked above Simon Sinek. Watch out, my man. Sold a company at eight times multiple in the Great Recession, and now drives and has been driving with multiple different teams, hundreds of teams, 90% engagement, and showing you how the future and how to future proof your business. Go expand. Coming on to the Go for CEO channel. How are you, sir?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me on, John.
Awesome, Chris. Well, super excited to have you on. First of all, I'm a big military veteran aficionado. It's one of the only regrets in life that I didn't go to the military, but super thankful for all of you that did serve. So I want to always start with that. And it sounds like off camera you were sharing with me so many different things. You've taken that military experience and the discipline that you learned and some of the great attributes that you get from serving in the military to now helping the business world. So let's have a great conversation. Looking forward to it. Go for CEO community. Stay tuned. Hey, subscribe to the channel, by the way. I don't say it enough. Become a part of the Go for CEO community. And also check out my book coming out October 6th, The 4A Formula, Untangle Any Challenge and Think Like a CEO. You're going to get a lot of that today. Chris, tell us a little bit about the ideation of Go Expand and thinking about kind of where that came from. Was it right after the military? Did you spend some time in corporate America? Let's go through that process of sharing with people how you thought of this business.
Yeah, so I got out of all my different uniforms in 1999. So I was a sergeant in a couple of different organizations, civilian law enforcement, and in the Army National Guard military police. So got my stripes early, was a young leader in both organizations, Department of Corrections, 23, 24-year-old sergeant leading people, in their 50s, officers in a department. So the boy sergeant, it was a very interesting experience, but, took that leadership experience, all the schools, all the practical application of leadership that one learns as achieving rank and, moving into leadership billets from individual contributor roles. And really just took that fired up mentality and really being great in the military and being great in business shares a common thing. It's just commitment to excellence. And in the military, you enlist or take a commission and it's a number of years. So the commitment is not really up for discussion. When you sign a contract, basically an open check to the country for you for the next however many years, we have that commitment. And again, in the military, people want to be there. You're not joining the military to get rich. Not that the pay is bad, but it's not like being an entrepreneur or being an executive or something like that. So I think people serve because they want to. It's in their heart. It's a calling, and it's something you can do when you're 18, 19, 20 some years old and still have a career after. So to your point, it's a good place to go to learn about life. You'll find some of the best leaders on the planet. But more often you'll see some pretty bad leadership. And because of how the military is structured, the team isn't going to vote a bad captain or a maniacal colonel out of office. They are in the military very much in charge of your personal well-being, comfort, and duty. So conversely, in the civilian world, everyone's a volunteer and they can volunteer for another unit anytime they want to. So the commitment is a little different, but in the military, they issue you soldiers and they're not always 10 out of 10. Your job is to take fives and make them eights. Whereas in the civilian business world, you can go out and recruit against, millions, if not billions of people for a limited amount of roster spots. So you get to choose. So the dynamic is different, but if you have the similar mindset, meaning if we're going to leave our families for an extended period of time, 8, 10 hours a day, in this example, it takes just as much time to be away from our loved ones, whatever your number one is, John, to be great. Or you can spend 8 to 10 hours and be very mediocre or be in a really bad situation. So the amount of time and effort is almost equal, but the results can be otherworldly in your engagement, your satisfaction, your growth, your development, your compensation. Hey, life is short. If you're going to spend a third of your life with a group of people, it should be an awesome group of people doing awesome things.
Hey, go expand. And what Chris just did, it was expand your mind And some of the areas, if you're a young person right now thinking, wow, what should I do, right? Military could be one of those avenues. But if you're also a person that's kind of stuck in something you're not really enjoying or not knowing what to do, entrepreneurship is that number one self-development program out there. As I know Ed Milet talks a lot about, entrepreneurship being that self-development guru type of scenario where, the education from it is superb. So go expand, right? What was the ideation piece of it? Like, how did you, come up with that name? What was the reasons behind it? And then how did you start to get into this field of consulting and putting your brand out there and what you do?
Yeah, so my personal branding is the Business Sergeant. I've got a couple of logos behind me here. The Business Sergeant is my coaching, leadership coaching business, one-on-one CEO coaching enterprise. So bringing that military mindset to non-veterans, some veterans, some like only 7% of our living population has served in some capacity. So that means 93% haven't. And like you said, John, you said, "Ooh, I missed the opportunity. I have a regret." So that's okay. There's a lot of folks that feel the same way, and it's okay. So if you wanted to get a little bit of that thinking, that methodology, some of the executional strategies, that's what I bring. And it's interesting to folks that always wanted to serve and learn a little bit about it. And there are some things that transfer over quite well from the military to the civilian business world. And I've extracted those. I wrote a book back in 2017, and congratulations on the upcoming launch of your book. It's an exciting thing to be an author. I wrote a book called The Business Sergeant's Field Manual, military grade business execution without the yelling and push-ups. It looks like this. It actually looks like a field manual, like a military field manual. Lots of big words or big text, I should say, and notes. And the idea is that a military FM field manual is something you refer to before you go do something. So you remind yourself of the task, condition, and standard. So if you're going to go have a difficult conversation, let's get to that chapter, that lesson, tighten it up, and then go do the thing knowing that you're centered on, solid methodology. So the Business Sergeant is my coaching brand, and I have some other veterans that serve as well. So I have a firm model, and inside of that, we use the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. And I've been a expert EOS implementer for a lot of years. I've been pushing 12 years, and it's been exciting. I was the first EOS implementer in Colorado. Now we have over 40. So just to give you an idea, Traction's getting traction. And then Go Expand is an actual software business that I've recently started. So the Go Expand brand is the newer of the two, and that is an agentic AI-powered business operating suite plus a bunch of people tools. So think about all the people tools, all the operating system tools to run an operating system like EOS, and an agentic AI agent. So we can just put the truth in there and everybody can ask the company brain and we don't have to disturb each other. And that really is a huge time saver and empowers people to get it going. So inside the software, we have a performance, alignment, and engagement scoring. And then all the other stuff around there, pulse surveys, dashboarding, performance reviews, unlimited personality assessments. So we're only interviewing the people that have the correct wiring. Basically, the software is a culmination of many, many, many years in the room with the top teams and looking at everyone's Frankenstack, the disparate number of apps that people lash together to execute. And what I found, John, was that a lot of people are only using 20 or 30% of all these people tools, a separate operating system application, and then AI is like this new thing that people either are running to or avoiding like the plague. That's the two modes people are in right now, early adopters, and this is a threat. It scares me. So bringing all three of those things together in one perfectly curated suite. So you don't have to figure out all the stack. You just have to go to goexpand.com. All that work has been done by, literally over 100 of the best teams in America. So this is what the winners use. So you can figure it out on your own, or you can just come over there and we'll make it easy for you.
Talk about simplicity, right? And what a great message. So you took the sergeant role of consulting and everything that you had behind you, right? Tell us a few of the clients that you first started out with so that we can kind of get a mind's eye of, all right, Chris starts developing this Sargent brand and he's doing this consulting. Then all of a sudden, wow, man, a few years later, he starts with Go Expand and how to develop that. So how about those first few clients? What was that like? How did you start to, charge them? What were some of the intricacies of that piece of the puzzle?
Sure. I think after, selling my last business, which was in 2011, it was an energy efficient remodeling business. So we took old post World War II homes in the frozen tundra of Minneapolis, St. Paul, literally newspaper, corn husks in the walls of these homes and put, sustainable, cellulose insulation, triple pane windows, fiberglass doors, really got the billing envelope so we could get some energy savings and that would, accelerate your return on investment with energy savings. And it was during the energy credit years, 2008, 9, 10, 11. So when the economy wasn't great, having a $1,500 tax credit behind a project was a very good thing for folks. So it was just the right place, right time, and kind of had a military bend to that as well, because at the time, we were visiting the Middle East often, and energy is a part of that geopolitical arrangement over there. So just being efficient, that's as green as you can be, is just wanting to use less energy. So efficiency is kind of where it starts. So after selling that company, I just started, consulting, coaching, just kind of from the hip, I guess is the best way to say that. And a year or two into that, I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, an old business partner, Andy, and he was going through EOS implementation back in Minneapolis and said, "Hey, Chris, you got to look at this program. It is so solid. This could really help your coaching practice." So of course I listened and looked into it and found the entrepreneurial operating system and was like, wow. It's just brilliant because it's a bunch of different stuff from a bunch of different era. It's no theory. It's all practical stuff. So became an EOS implementer in early 2014, was trained personally by Gino Wickman and Don Tinney, the founders of EOS, and was probably implementer number 55, 60, something like that. Now there's 1,000 in the world, and that was almost 12 years ago. So getting back to those clients, industry agnostic. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. Anywhere there's a group of people that need clarity, discipline, accountability, encouragement. That's where EOS works, and that's where I work. So I don't have a niche, I don't have a specialty other than making good teams great or great teams world class. So that's what EOS is about. The principles to lead people, manage them, and hold them accountable are the same, regardless of what you do. That who are we, why do we do what we do, and what do we do? Those three things: core values, core focus, and your niche. That equals the soul of your business. And you'd be surprised how many business owners can't answer those questions. Who are you? What are your core values? Are they words for the wall, or does that accurately describe who your team is? What's the vibe of the tribe? What version of weird are we talking about here? Because we've all, seen excellence, integrity, service to others. And I think those were Enron's core values. And, their leadership teams, I think they're just getting out of prison now. So you can say something, but, the culture needs to match the marketing message. So when your brand says we do this and then people experience you and it's not that's very disingenuous. So really connecting how we speak about ourselves in the marketplace to exactly how we operate internally. So got to find your soul and you got to get your why, right? Your focus. It can't just be about the money. It has to be about your impact. You got to really enjoy solving the problem that your business solves. And then your niche is you get rich in the niche. You can't be everything to everyone. The market is it's infinity and beyond. And I'd like to say, John, this is $1 million company and my fingers are a couple centimeters apart, let's say 2 centimeters apart, 20 centimeters apart, right? That's a $10 million company. 200 centimeters apart, there's a $100 million company. $1 billion company's this big, but as far as you can see is the size of the market. So it's not about world domination, being number one in your space. It's about, finding a market that needs help, you having expertise and a bunch of passion to do it, and staying in that niche and scaling inside of it. And, you can have a facial tissue company or you can be Kleenex. So anything on the fringes, anything new, anything emerging, being the first to scale oftentimes is all it takes to be the market leader. Or if you don't want to be the biggest, like I just said, you want to be the best, find the sweet spot of any industry and just outperform people. And people will pay more for excellence. Absolutely. And you just don't want to be another commodity, another Me Too business, so to speak. Got to be special. Special is profitable. Commodities are just that. They're priced accordingly.
Well, that's a differentiator. The way that you went into business with that mindset, the background that you had, pretty awesome stuff. And it made me think of two E's, the one that you were just talking about, EOS, but also about E-Myth, right? A lot of entrepreneurs forget to read that book and understand and decide what it is that they're going to be and do as an entrepreneur. And then the last one was also that popped into my mind while you were talking was blue ocean strategy, right? How do we become different? I'm always thinking about this podcast or as a commercial banker that I do day to day, like what can I do differently with other against other commercial bankers or against other coaches, consultants in the business. So really awesome stuff. So what were two or three of the first clients that you actually dealt with? What industry? And then what did you think of like when you started going, okay, well, I've learned the EOS system. I've had this background. I'm working with this client. How the heck do I bill them? Like, what is my per rate? What did you talk about? Because a lot of people don't know that and would love to go a little bit deeper on that.
Yeah. So EOS implementation, my main business model when coaching, because the model is just so darn effective. There's no reason to try to create something else that isn't, doing what that's doing. It's a day rate. So it's about 5 full days a year for 2 years. So think 10 to 12 full day offsites over 2 years. And then, the team has space to do the work between the quarters. You're still running your company. So it's a spaced, staged learning approach. So we're not hurting the business. So the first 3 days are 30 days apart. And then we see our clients every 90 days. And about a year in, we have a 2-day annual session. And then we get back to, 3 other quarterlies. And usually the team graduates on the second annual session. So 10 or 12 days over 2 years. So early clients, a healthcare company who's now, going to be acquired sometime in the next year or so for close to $1 billion. They were a $14 million company annually, and now they're, doing hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue with a SaaS model and a big exit on the horizon. One early was a family bike shop, but not any family bike shop. Wheatridge Cyclery, which is probably the largest bike shop in America. I think 30,000 square feet. And, I think at the time, well over, 10, 15 million in sales, something like that. The Kiefel family, Ron Kiefel, who was the cycling champion, world champion in 1982, was a founding member of the 7-Eleven bike team. His teammate, the captain, Davis Finney, has a nonprofit, the Davis Finney Foundation, with Parkinson's disease. So worked with Davis as well. So like really diverse stuff. Car dealerships, large contractors, you name it. I've worked in the space because again, it's you don't really need an expert in your space. You need an expert on team building, operating system installation, and making sure the right people are in the right seats. Because once you have the right people that just simply mean they share your core values, and right seats, using some EOS terminology, means they GWC or get it, want it, and have the capacity. So you got to have both. That's what we're looking for. Right person, right seat. The next most common one, John, would be the right person in the wrong seat. And that's usually management. That's usually our fault. We did that. Hey, do you know how to do this? Well, kind of. Hey, you're the best we got. Get in there. Go fill this position. And then a year later with zero training, no development, we're like, hey, I think Jeff is struggling over here. Like, yeah, he did you a solid by taking a temporary position that became permanent, and we didn't support it. And that's why we can't scale past that. The third combination would be the wrong person in the right seat. That's somebody that's profitable, but they're a jerk. So the brilliant jerk syndrome, can't build a great culture with jerks on your roster. And then the fourth combination is the wrong person in the wrong seat. They're pretty easy to spot. That's the energy vampire, the oxygen thief. We're having to redo their work. So the boat usually goes faster without 200 pounds in the boat, even with an empty oar. So Everyone has that four combinations, and once you get 90% of your company to be the right people in the right seats, they will clear out that last 10%. But my observation, John, is if you have even 20% of your company that are not the right people in the right seats, that's enough of a foothold for them to stay and for that 80% to be frustrated. And then you have a retention issue with your unicorns, because your unicorns don't like to be, in the same area as other like donkeys, jackasses, burros, other hoofed, like totally different thing, right? So there's an old saying: you don't put a yoke on a unicorn. So like let's keep things classy, and if we have some high performers, let's never insult them with people that aren't at their same caliber.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting view, right? And only typically top performers feel that, right? It's that agitation feeling. It's that kind of rubness, right? They know that they're in an environment where it's not coming together the right way, and it's a frustration level. So I can understand that from my hats that I've worn either in my own business or been an entrepreneur, I affectionately call when I work for someone. Walking into an office and a team where you can start to feel that there's some players that are just kind of milking the corporate dollar and having a paycheck. There's some other ones that are actively doing things in that energy. The last bank I came from, I actually created it's called the Ballers Group. I identified about 14 of us or 15 of us that were relation managers in the commercial banking world. And I took 4 of us along with myself and called us the Ballers Group, because I felt like these guys were really doing the day-to-day activity. And I wasn't a manager at that point. I wasn't running a team, but I effectively brought this team together, and we went to market together when most of us were siloed, right? We're doing our own thing. We're business developing our own way. And it was a cool thing to see, and something that I'll always cherish and bring to other aspects. So, all right, now, as far as the consulting side, and we're going to work towards the Go Expand, because I'm really interested in that space as well. I know that's one of the reasons you came on the Go CEO channel. As far as revenue and how you modeled your pricing model, it's always interesting. You said maybe that hourly or the EOS kind of gave you the framework. Have you stayed on that, or have you thought about, oh, okay, maybe I could sell the Sargent brand in the future? What's your thoughts on that and how you created the revenue model?
Yeah, so the coaching, I think the day rate makes sense, because you're going to be there for the whole day. You're not doing anything else. If you have to travel, you're going to lose the day before, the day after. So if there's a travel fee, it's usually a 50% bump plus the travel expense. So and then we don't have to be attorneys. We don't have to bill for these types of conversations. So I have a lot of these hour conversations in the middle of the quarter with my clients, and there's not a running meter. So the day rate, there's actually no contracts. It's quit any time, and the session is actually guaranteed. If you didn't receive the value, in this case, $10,000 for an in-person in Denver or a virtual session like this one, if it wasn't worth the money, you don't have to pay. I've never not been paid for a day of EOS, but that's the guarantee that's there. So everything's no contracts, handshake deals. It's a pretty interesting arrangement. Now, the software Go Expand, that's on a per user basis, and it's volume connected, right? So the more people you're on it, the cheaper it gets per user, which is pretty standard in the SaaS space. So when I work with a client, we have the day rate of myself or one of my coaches, a fellow implementer with military experience, another business sergeant, or maybe a non-veteran implementer that I can connect people with. And then we use the Go Expand software, because the software really highlights the methodology. So we're still, we have a license with EOS Provide. So we're using the correct terms. No one has to relearn anything. It's all the terms you know and love. And there's a EOS version. So if you're not on EOS, or you run another competing business operating system, or you just want the opportunity to create your own, make up your own names, our non-EOS version has open naming conventions. So if you don't like the word high five, or what you call it, a kudo, or whatever, you can do whatever you want. So really, when you have this mindset and the coaching, you also need to have a tool. And the commercially available tools were very focused on the operating system stuff, obviously, but again, my clients were using that and a bunch of other stuff. And it's really hard to have 5 or 6 different logins and expect people to really get an ROI. So what I found is if we could just combine those Frankenstacks into a curated stack, there's one login, the whole team can be, 80, 90, 100% engaged in a tool. And because everybody's in it, you'd feel lost if you weren't. So a lot of my founders are like, yeah, I can't get them to use these tools. Well, communicate inside of the tool, rate them inside of the tool, have their meetings inside of the tool, have the AI agent inside of the same tool. So these are all modern tools to allow us to perform well, stay connected, hold each other accountable, give each other feedback, and kind of, especially for a lot of teams, John, they're remote, right? Or they're hybrid, where the days of us all being in the same room, it isn't like it used to be. So having a tool that keeps people connected and tethered to the squad is a really important part. Without it, all of these great methodologies and operating systems just kind of fade away. I find that it's the glue that you need to kind of keep it together, because quite frankly, visibility is a real big part of this. So is peer pressure. When we have the right people in the right seats, there should be some healthy peer pressure. Just like think about that sports team you were on, or that time you served in the military unit, or you went to a great school, or got into an advanced program. Anything that's that top 20% world in it's special. And we know that the team will, if somebody was out partying and not properly hydrated and ready to play, the team's like, you're not doing that again next week. We're going to kick you off the team. If you partying's more serious than being a D1 athlete, right? We're going to pull your scholarship. There's an example, right? So back to the civilian business world, if I can visually show people x-axis performance and y-axis alignment, and I can show an actual scatter plot with green for you're in it and red you're not, and we know exactly what it takes to move closer to the green, or if you stay in the same place or get further away, that objectivity that the app creates isn't inherent in humans. Or there's a lot of subjectivity in any business operating. It says, well, are they the right person? Yes or no, decide. Well, if I look at it this way, yes. If I look at it this way, maybe no. How about we just have green and red, and we agree about what those numbers are, and we're all judged in the same way. And what I find when you get rid of the subjectivity of an operating system, you replace it with green go, red stop level simplicity. This is how we can get our middle managers, the sergeants, if you will, because that's what sergeants do in the military. They take the brass, the officers, the ones capitalizing, planning the missions, and then the ones executing it are the sergeants with the troops, the largest element. So I find that the sergeants in business are never really connected. So I coach the leadership team, but I want to meet your management team, and I want to take an extension cord and I want to plug the management team and the leadership team together, because I don't find too many of those connected at the beginning of an engagement. But a couple of years later, they're an extension. They finish each other's sentences. We are all on the same team. So we get rid of the us versus them versus the we. And then once we have the tools, the methodology, we've cleared out the wrong people. We're only recruiting and onboarding the right people. And we all want to be held accountable back to I don't want to be the weak link on the chain, and I'm going to come in early. I'm going to stay late to get green. And when everyone in the organization has that healthy peer pressure to be a good teammate, that's where the magic in business happens. So just as a proof point here, right? I have my clients take a best place to work engagement survey. So the Business Journals, right, is a big organization. They're all over America. So here in Denver, in my hometown, we use the Denver Business Journal. And this is not, you cannot write them a check to get an award like so many other awards. Hey, I gave myself an award the other day. We donated, 50 grand and we got a plaque. No, I'm talking about having, I think it's like 80% of all the emails that you give them, everyone at the company has to respond. So if you don't have an 80% response rate, try again next year when people actually care about this. Then it's a completely private email. And the questions are, How do they treat you? How's your pay? How's the communication? Like, how's the accountability for management? So let's put it this way. You can't fake your way through one of these, because if an employee is disenfranchised and they have someone asking them how the company, and it's completely anonymous, they're going to let the feedback fly. So of my, I don't know, we'll just pick a number. I think it's somewhere between like 130 years, I think, is the number of teams that I've put through the program in almost 12 years. Um, More than half have applied for these awards, and as of right now, I think the actual yearly count is over 200 awards. Like, one client might have 7 or 8 in a row, so that's where that number comes from. But think about being 94% engaged in a survey, when the average company, even ones that make money, are in the 30s, 40s. So like, that's the a third party looking at the work that we do and say, wow. So once you're 5 years in a row, Denver Business Journal Best Place to Work Award, that's an endorsement to applicants to say, that's the kind of company I want to work for. So it's not easy getting there. And not everybody wants to apply for those awards, and you certainly won't win your first year. You got to lose to find out why you lost, and then we got to fix that next year's. So I just find that if we can do work together that results in high 80s, low 90s engagement, we're onto something. And the regularity in which my clients graduate and have those honors, is a proof point to the work we do together. None of this stuff is theory. It's all practical stuff that we do.
I'm very curious. The tools that you used throughout your maturation in business are very unique. You decided to really sell out to EOS, become one of the first 50 or so, you said, to really implement that process worldwide. And now you're one of thousands, but you were one of the innovators and first students. And then throughout your process of being kind of that one-on-one coach, and even bringing on some other sergeants of coaching, then you create Go Expand. So what I'm curious about, in the Go for community would love to learn, is maybe, was this a need or a want? Meaning, did you take your personal coaching EOS system and then say to yourself, wow, a lot of my clients really need this? Or was it something that you just wanted to add another product to make sure that there was longevity to the relationship? What was the combination of that?
Well, I think it's a couple of those things. I think you've nailed it, John. Like, you figured me out here. Like, the idea is, like any entrepreneur, there's a need. So other existing solutions, all the different ones I listed, the operating system ones, the bunch of different people ones, and the AI one. My observation was my top performing teams, the ones that are winning these awards, have twice the EBITDA, waiting list to work there, like the best of the best, all used a very similar stack. And the companies that struggled to implement EOS, I'm the same coach, I'm giving the same message to all these different teams. Some teams inherently are very objective, some have a bunch of subjectivity. So that was an observation. So when I was able to find out, like, what are the reasons why these people are so objective, and what are some of the reasons these teams are so subject, it's the tools they use, the data they have. How black and white is it? Is it, if we don't have data integrity, like, not having great data is worse than having no data at all, because we have to have this circular conversation where, I don't think that number's accurate. I kind of think it is. And versus, like, we don't know, like, nobody knows. Let's find out. So having directionally correct data is a big thing. But back to my big insight was the visualization. Like, it's just, I know you're identifying as being the right person in the right seat, Bob. I get that. But survey says no. You are performing at 58% of what we pay you for, and you're aligned at a 2.5 out of 5. And the average alignment score is kind of in the high 3s, low 4s. So, like, for sure, we're judging everyone the same, ourselves included. Management are looked at the same way, and you can't even see the green line. So you have to own that. And like, we don't have to own that. You have to own that, because expectations are resentments under construction. Expectations don't cut it. I'm an agreement guy. So this is what I expect. Do you agree? I agree. If someone makes the agreement and they can't meet it, they'll tell you, sorry, I can't do it. But if you've never really expressly said, this is the number, and if it doesn't happen, this is the result, everyone thinks they're doing great, even if they're not. So I think if we're speaking the truth and we're seeing the same things, that business is hard enough when we're looking at the wrong things, saying different words, meaning different things. It's hard enough. Why don't we not make it any harder on ourselves by just creating a simple environment where we can see, right, our vision, we can get all the traction we want, and we can be really healthy teammates because we can, lift each other up. And back to that, I don't want to be the one that lets the team down. If I come in here and lay eggs every week, that's going to visibly show up. No one's going to not know that I'm failing, including me. So we can swiftly take action versus letting a bunch of mediocrity occur for quarters, years, or even decades without a tool that's visible and interactive and the real-time feedback. I go to your meeting, you run long, it was a low quality meeting, I can send you some feedback saying that was a 2 out of 5. John, I expect better. And that doesn't really go anywhere other than to a feedback board that your leader will look at just to see what kind of feedback you're getting in the company. And if I go in there and the majority of it is positive, good. We're all perfectly imperfect. I'm not looking for perfect 5 out of 5 for everybody all the time. But if I go there and I see nothing but high 5s, then I go to someone else and I see -3s and 2s and 4s and 3s everywhere. There's truth in that. I need to just look at that data and address it versus, well, they're always nice to me. Well, yeah, you're the boss. You signed the checks. All your ideas are great. By the way, did you lose weight? Your haircut looks wonderful, and I love your shoes. So instead of the junior high school kids being the cool kids at your company, the ones that are moving the needle, that are crushing the numbers, those are the cool kids at my companies.
Yeah, no, I mean, it comes down to culture too, right? What you're developing there and that culture, I could kind of simulate some things. I just recently made a change from a bigger bank, $250 billion bank, to a $25 billion bank, and from my outside YouTube world. And it's interesting to kind of see the dynamics of these pockets of market presidents and how each one is developing their teams and what they're doing. So super interesting to hear the go expand model. Now, when you say feedback, immediate feedback on a meeting, let's go a little bit deeper. Is it a system that can record you at that point? Are you always having this tool kind of live and checking in on data and downloading stuff, or how does that work?
Yeah, so the big premise is there's a performance score, and performance is 4 things. It's your scorecard, your skill set, are you getting your rocks? Rocks are your strategic initiatives, and then your to-dos are your tasks. Are you getting your to-dos done at 90% of promised to-dos weekly? So, those 4 things are the x-axis. The y-axis is alignment, and that's like core values, role alignment, and past performance reviews. So that's all giving you the up and to the right is good, high and to the right is where the green is, low and to the left is where the red part is. That's not good. So we know if you're not getting your promised to-dos done, you're breaking promises, and we're having to wait. We all did our work this week. Now we got to wait for John to do his work. Net, the team doesn't win because you decided to not deliver the goods. Well, that's going to show up in your performance score. If you keep doing that, it's just going to come down in real time, and your leader is going to see you're performing at 57%, not 92%. There's a big difference between those two. So I can't laugh at your dumb dad jokes and be at 52% and get away with it. If I didn't have performance alignment and engagement scoring, right, that could happen. But at this point, your engagement scoring, that's something just the employee has access to. It's the 5 big employee engagement questions, and it's 5 out of 5 for 25 out of 25 is 100%. Anything, less than that comes down. So if people are performing, they're hitting their numbers, they're aligned, they're culturally fit, they're following process, the employee in front of them, behind them are happy, the client's happy, and they're engaged. They want to be here. They love it. They're compensated appropriately. They understand how their work feeds up to the big goals. They have the tools they need to be successful, those types of things. That's all we need to worry about is those 3 things. Are you performing? Are you aligned? And are you engaged? So if I can just track those 3 numbers, and I have a good way to do that and a visual way to represent that, that takes a lot of junior managers and really simplifies what each one of these employees need. And if somebody's super, super high up in the green, they're in the stratosphere of the right person in the right seat. I don't need to spend a lot of time managing them. I just need to ask if they're okay, if they need anything from me, and I'll get out of your hair. Don't let me impede this awesome over here. You need to go vector your time for the folks. And then as you coach them, you should see their dot, their XY axis and the scatter plot getting towards green. And if it's actually getting further away, hey, come on in my office. Thanks for trying, man. We did our best, but we're trying to get towards the right person, right seat, and we're just not getting there. And it's okay. But right now we're going to call it because we're actually going further away this quarter. We're going the opposite of what we all agreed on. And because it's so easily visualized, we're not going to hang on to the wrong person for an extra quarter or 8 quarters, which is what we do without the green, red, stop, go level of simplicity for junior leaders. So like really getting back, I come back to it, just if I can get rid of the subjectivity and all we can do is deal with, objective targets, and we have curated the right people in the right seats because we're using the personality assessments. We've tested all the best. We've tested the mid-tier ones and we've tested the low-tier ones. And we're only going to interview folks that match the personality archetype of our most successful people. So we're going to interview less, but we're going to hire more, and we're going to turn over less because we're also going to find people that don't like to sit next to unproductive people. We're going to write ads that say, do people ever say you care too much? Are you offended by dumb people in the office? If you answered yes, good. You're the kind of person that is successful at this business because, we're quite frankly, we're slow to hire and we're quick to fire. Because that is kind of the mantra of an elite unit, not, hey, anyone can be here and it's really hard to get fired. Now we're talking about the federal government, a big corporation, like waste, fraud, and abuse all over. The companies that I coach, some are publicly traded, a few, but most are privately held. And, an actual family, is attached to this. And if this business craters, that's going to be hard for some folks. So, it's important that we become a strong business that is not easily knocked off the ball or the dime or whatever, and that we have control. And if we want to grow, we can grow in a healthy way, not just throw up some big numbers and lay an egg in operations, but back to the name, go expand, and where I came up with that. Expansion talks about balance, equal growth. Extension is what I was just talking about. Let's say we double our sales leads, but we don't double our intake or our onboarding capacity. Well, half of those people are going to have a pretty rough time. And then eventually that word's going to get on the market. And then it's going to be difficult to maintain sales because 1-star reviews will catch up to you at scale. So why don't we just expand? And then the word go expand, right? Kind of like go for CEO, your business theme. I like the action. Go expand. Let's go expand together. I just love the name. And it was a premium domain. I bought it probably 7 or 8 years ago, and I've been sitting on it knowing that at some point something is going to be go expand. And turns out, had an opportunity to partner with an amazing software producer. I am not a technology guy, but I know what good technology looks like. And I saw some and spent the last year customizing it to not only be EOS Pure, but also understand this business sergeant's mindset. So when someone gets a Go Expand subscription, and you just put everything in there and you decide what those things are and what those goals are and what the levels are. But the way it connects everybody is like super glue. And that's what gets me excited because like you, empowering other people is what gets me excited.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a gift that keeps on giving. You made me think throughout what you were sharing. There's a gentleman I follow, Tom Ellsworth. He's called the Biz Doc sometimes, and he talks about, words speak, numbers scream, right? Like numbers are screaming at you, showing you what reality is, and to have some metrics, to have some culpability there, right? Some accountability, by the way, chapter 3 of my book, Accountability. And I go into it in a different way of looking in the mirror and what you think about that after assessing and aligning with the right people. So shameless plug, but super awesome the way that you kind of connected the dots together. And I'm glad, yeah, I was able to kind of identify that your Sargent consulting business then needed this other aspect. And now it's like this infinity of being able to work with you and kind of translate those numbers and things that you've been improving for so long and taking this Frankenstack, like you called it, and simplifying it. So really, really cool stuff. So, as we end our interviews, we always try to go for CEO, right? So C is client experience, and we can talk about both brands and what you feel the value proposition is. E is for engagement. So it could be with the other sergeants that you have on your team, or the SaaS developer person, or clients that you have, and how you engage with them. And O is operational excellence, which I love. You literally developed something for O. So client experience, 60-second value proposition. What is it that people get when they do business with both your companies?
Results, period. A proven process with an 85% success rate. And the 15 that don't make it, usually it's a narcissistic, broken, founder who's just, like not in touch with reality. It's rare, or the team isn't willing to make people moves, or what they think and what the reality is are two different things. So they have the wrong perspective. They're not a healthy business. We can't, have healthy conflicts. So we can't have commitment. And if we can't have a commitment, we can't have accountability. We can't have accountability, can't have results. Trust, again, is at the bottom. I'm referring to Pat Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team. So, you got to be a healthy business. So at the end of the day, the Val prop is someone who's going to look you in the eye and knows what good and not good looks like. And when you say this is good, and I'm like, pretty sure this is many different levels of not great. So, love you, but would you like to hear an experience share and some of my observations so we can accurately assume the identity you actually have versus the assumed identity that you wish you had? And there's a lot of that. So someone telling you the truth and somebody that knows the difference, just remember, it's your tree. You know every branch, every leaf, every knot, every piece of bark. I'm more the forest ranger. I see a lot of trees, and yours isn't so healthy right now.
I love it. Identifying that is a big deal. Assessing it, which is chapter 1, assess where you're at. So number 2 is engagement. Do you do retreats with your clients? Are you taking your staff and team to quarterly events, or what is the way that you really like to make sure that people know how you engage with people as, Chris, the entrepreneur, the founder, the CEO of a company?
Yeah, so I engage in a couple of different ways. I have my full day EOS sessions, and I keep a roster of clients. Even being a full-time EOS guy is still a part-time job compared to our founders and our leadership teams that we coach. So, 100 or so sessions is considered a full practice, and most of my clients work well over 100 days a year in their business, obviously. So, I do 100-ish days in full-day coaching. I have 1 day a week where I spend on one-on-ones with a group of CEOs that I coach individually. A lot of those CEOs, I also do EOS with their leadership team. And then the majority of my clients are going to be using Go Expand because it's that super glue to hold all the stuff together. So I'm giving software demonstrations, talking to CEOs. EOS implementers are, resellers of my program, and I've been meeting with a lot of those and getting great feedback on the platform. So I'm, doing SaaS sales, leadership team coaching, CEO coaching, and I'm a husband of 28 years, and I got 2 kids, not even kids anymore, young men, 21 and 18. And I have a blessed life and get to work with people way smarter than me, and I get to learn every day and sharpen the sword and enjoy what I do. So I'm not looking at retiring anytime soon. In fact, I get to pinch myself that I get to do the work that I get to do with the people I get to do it with.
Yeah, you mentioned retirement. To me, I'm in the money game, so I feel like money can flow if I'm 80 or if I'm 50. It doesn't really matter. Like, I'm going to be in that game all the time. And I love that there's going to be different things that I can do and develop to then add a little spark of energy for that flow that I'm in at that period of my life. So really cool stuff. Last one is operational excellence. When you think about, obviously you have created something that creates operational excellence as a SaaS. So what are the tools? Are you specifically now only using Go Expand for your own business, or do you use other tools that also kind of combine to make sure that you have a full gamut of ways that you operate your business efficiently?
Yeah, well, I have partners, and my marketing partners have tools, right? But if I'm just talking about the tools that I'm using, to run my company, I can just use Go Expand. It's more than enough. And obviously some accounting software, some other software, but we have an API. So if you're running QuickBooks or Sage or one of these other programs, we can take that data right out of whatever you're using and put it right into Go Expand. Go Expand is the dashboard. It's the tip of the spear. It's the thing we're in. So whatever disparate systems one needs, that's fine. We can just feed that data in. It's the dashboard. It's the tool that everyone sees all the time, and whatever you need individually, we can just port that in through an API. So it's completely customizable through Zapier's apps, which is like 7,000 apps, I think, is where they're at. It's quite a lot of apps.
Neat. Well, like you said, you've brought in some experts in different areas, right? You learned from an expert to be able to create a baseline of the EOS mindset that you brought to the marketplace, and you've done it, right? And you're doing it well, and really cool for you to be on the Go for CEO channel, and super excited to have shared this, and looking forward to having it. So, but now, how do people get a hold of you? What's the most effective way to find Chris and engage with you, DM with you, email? What's the best way?
Yeah, I think Chris at goexpand.com is probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. And whether you're interested in EOS, the Go Expand software, or some one-on-one coaching, I'm looking at that one every day. And if you hit me at Chris at goexpand.com, I'll be happy to engage with you.
Awesome. Well, Go for CEO community, again, another powerful CEO, founder, entrepreneur. As you heard him, that military background, along with everything he's been able to implement, other sergeants on his team, and now this awesome Go Expand software. Check it out. And he just shared with you how to get a hold of him, right? At Chris at goexpand.com. But thank you so much, Chris, for coming on the Go for CEO channel. And we'll hope to have you back on next 6 to 18 months. I love to have people come back on and share kind of where that growth has been and what you're doing personally and all that stuff. And so really appreciate it.
Love to be back. I'll come back in a year and we can talk about the last year. I think that's a great idea. Thanks for having me on, John.
Awesome. Take care.